Ready?
I've saw you.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
You're a kitty. Hey guys, welcome to the 13 Days of Horror. We don't have any lightning effects.
Dun, dun.
Don't have any lightning effects because we could do. Or do we?
No, I don't think we do.
Then what was that right then?
Ah!
Editing. So, for the first day of the 13 Days of Horror, we decided to pick ABCs of Death 2, which we got to see an early screening of, and then we watched again on video on demand, because it's available now on video on demand. But we got to see it a couple weeks early, before it even came out, because Draft House Films produced it, and we have an Alamo Draft House right down the road, and so got to see it early.
Yeah.
We're special. I have my big long cheat sheet of the titles of the skits here.
Pretty much the same thing we did with the first one.
Yeah, so
Wrote them all down.
we're gonna go down through each individual short.
Again!
This will take a little bit. Let's start off with A for amateur. A is
Amateur.
for amateur. What did you think of A is for amateur, Liz?
Honestly, I didn't think that it was going to be amateur. I thought it was going to be something like arachnid. Like arachnid.
You were expecting it because...
I was expecting spiders because of all the webs that were in the game.
Pretty much the setup for this is it's an assassin guy, he gets a contract, and they go through and show him killing his target in a very slick, sexy manner.
Kind of like the typical way Bond would do it, or something cool. Yeah, it had all
through
the
shafts
sets.
and being all cool. He has night vision goggles.
Everything was clean, pristine, and then...
And then it rewinds back and shows it how he actually does it. And he still goes through that same shaft. It's just incredibly dirty. There's cobwebs. There's loose nails.
He gets a nail in his hand.
There's like cockroaches and stuff like that.
There's shit
and the second you saw the cobwebs, you thought it was.
I thought there was
going to
be
spider.
a huge spider that was going to crawl behind and grab him.
I was thinking it was A for assassin. That's what I was thinking it was going to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it was A for amateur because the guy is just horrible at what he does. It had a really funny punchline to it.
Most people in the audience were just like, oh, really?
I thought that was a pretty strong start.
Yeah,
like, because it had me hooked and I was just like, ooh, that's pretty good. B is for Badger. Now, this was a good one because you and I have watched...
Personally, I like this one the most because we've watched Mighty Boosh.
Yeah, Julian Barrett from Mighty Boosh.
The lead guy from that, or one of the lead guys, directed it and starred in it. Yeah. And he has the same mannerism as Mighty Boosh, like you just need the other guy there. But the whole thing was supposed to be like him shooting a documentary. Yeah.
About
a
nuclear plant
had killed off the badgers or whatever in the area, and then...
Seems they just mutated them, probably.
I think that's radioactive.
Yeah.
Radioactive. Get it.
That was a good one.
It's a song.
I liked it. I like that one.
Yeah.
The song, not the short.
Yeah, I like the short.
C is for capital punishment. This was the one with the whole town kind of holding this one guy accountable for
a small town too.
Yeah, it was like the small town. They had small town justice where they, rally the entire mob with pitchforks and knives, pretty much. Or pitchforks and knives. Torches is what I meant to say. Not quite like that, but they all convene and pretty much sentence this guy to death with practically no trial. They're just like, say you did it, and we'll call the cops because the guy wanted. He's like, call the police. I don't want to be, killed by you guys. And they were like, say you killed her, and we'll call the cops. And he's like, okay, I killed her.
Now call them.
And they didn't. So they enact, their own brand of justice.
It wasn't the best way though, because personally for me, then it's just the way it all played out. The guy that tried to do the execution was god awful with his fucking axe.
He was using an axe, and it was just like hack after hack, and he couldn't get the head off.
He couldn't hack away at the bone enough to just have it snap. It wasn't a clean slice, and the guy's just like...
I hurt my neck chopping it. Sorry. Oh, yeah.
I thought it was still pretty good though.
Yeah, that was a good one.
With the twist into it and everything was really nice.
Yeah. So then we have D is for Deloused. Now this was one that makes you relatively uncomfortable.
I didn't fucking get it either, by the way.
Yeah.
Did you ever look up what Deloused means?
Oh, Deloused, the term? I think Deloused is like you uninfect yourself or something like that. I don't know. I have my iPad right here.
There was a consistent thing being said, which was
something for my life or something like that. Something for your life.
Sacrifice whatever for your life. I can't remember the exact
like
sacrifice for your life or something. It was the most disturbingly uncomfortable thing I had seen relatively soon on into this thing. Mm-hmm. Especially with the art style. It was just really awkward.
Rid of lice and other parasitic insects.
Would make sense why then, because there were a lot of bugs in it.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was definitely... Fisher. Yeah, you could see, like, his shadow in the thing. Kitty. Anyway, the animation was really weird. It was definitely bizarre, but it was kind of, like, I liked it both times I saw it. It just doesn't necessarily... I can't quite put all the pieces together to make sense of it. I don't quite understand. It's a really out there sort of story where this guy is either being put to death or something, and then, like, a bug gets squished on the floor, and then this being comes out of it and starts eating the dude, and then he's, like, replicated. So there's a younger version of himself that's walking around, but whatever that thing is eating on him turns to black.
Yeah.
And it turned into, like, a sword after that. It was, like, you know... It was like a life or something. I can't remember specifically what it was saying, but it was just really weird. But it was cool. But
the art style was, I mean, for me personally, I find like, especially with the things I've seen like Super Jail and stuff like on Adult Swim. All of those the art styles have always made me very uncomfortable, just because it's so graphic and so creepy. Mm-hmm. And a little like the guy who wrote it.
Bugs and stuff,
yeah,
right?
the guy who wrote these things kind of had a little something going on up here.
Yeah.
But it was just I personally also didn't like the fact that when he fed the thing the first head through the bear.
Oh, it
looked creepy as hell.
Oh, it was like a weird clown thing inside this being.
And then it's flipped over.
What we're saying makes no sense until you watch it. Because it's literally like he has to like cut off the heads of these guys who are holding him captive and then throw them in this like butthole thing that has this clown head on the inside. But once it's ready to eat the heads, it flips over and turns into a weird
When it got
bear.
One head, it flips over. It's then become a panda head with teeth, like dentures. And it just started talking, and I'm just like, okay, well, I think I'm done with this one.
Definitely one of the weirder ones on there.
I think that was the weirdest one on there.
Probably. E is for equilibrium. This is the two guys on the
I didn't
beach.
understand the whole equilibrium thing. I know what equilibrium is.
Well, it seemed they had an equilibrium when it was just the two guys, and it's thrown off balance once the girl comes ashore. It's pretty much two guys who are stranded on the beach. They're like two kind of bros who hang out. Who hang out and kind of prank each other, because it starts off with the guy peeing in his water thing, and then he drinks it, and there's a but then a woman washes up on shore, and they start, you know, bringing her into their little group, and it slowly, like, one of the guys starts to like the girl, and the other dude kind of gets jealous about it, and it just turns into, like, it starts off very saturated and colorful, and it gets more and more desaturated as time goes on.
I don't think I noticed that, but...
It gets really, like, once things start getting, like...
dark and dreary kind of look to it.
And then, like, pretty much the girl tries to get one of the guys to kill the other dude, and... yeah,
so that they could...
So,
probably
but that one had a good sense of humor about it, and it was kind of stylishly done, where it had like a rotating shot where it just showed time passing, and it seemed like one continuous shot, but they were doing different things as the camera.
Like one guy had a rock, and he kept doing this, like weights and things like that, just showing progression.
Yeah, trying to open coconuts.
Who is becoming more alpha male kind of thing. It looked like.
It's just all about how the woman threw off the equilibrium of these two guys.
Makes more sense now. Okay.
It was pretty good. It had a dark sense of humor about it, but it was pretty good. Then there was Falling. F is for Falling. This is the like Israeli-Palestinian thing. I'm not so educated on like the Israeli. I assumed it was an Israeli-Palestinian thing. Some of these shorts kind of get like dark horror-ish or like light whatever. This one was more like
a
politically
dark humor to it.
Yeah.
Just because like when he was about to cut her off the thing, because she had like fallen and then she had a parachute that was stuck in a tree, which happens every once in a while to people when they fall out of an airplane or something or jump. And she just started laughing, and he's like, "What the hell is your problem?" And she's like, "I gotta pee." Like, I'm like, well, you know.
She was pretty much trying to talk this kid into not calling on his reinforcements down the road and just taking her in himself.
Yeah.
That way, I figured she assumed she'd have a better chance of getting away if she just talked this kid into like, hey, you'll get more glory if you take me in by yourself. Technically, really, it was shot really well.
Yeah.
Like, it was beautiful, and so that was interesting. Then we have G is for Granddad. Now this was the first this had the audience.
Complete humor in every aspect.
This had the audience laughing because it was so bizarre.
The lead guy who has like this long kind of like the metal hair, the long dude hair kind of thing. He just
kind of British punk kid.
He was the funniest thing out of that entire short because his facial expressions were just like.
Yeah, it's this young kid. It's this young kid who's been living with his granddad for the last year, and they don't have a TV, and they just kind of are sitting there drinking alcohol in front of a fire.
Because Granddad doesn't like telly.
Yeah, he doesn't like fucking telly. But like, like the kid doesn't understand his granddad, and the granddad is just like kind of doesn't quite get the kid as well. But like, just the faces this kid makes, like he's not a kid. He's like at least 21.
I was gonna say he's at least in his 20s.
And he keeps making weird faces like. And stuff like that.
He was always doing the
thing. In reaction to his things his grandfather was saying. So just for reaction faces alone, it's hilarious. It kind of spins into this weird thing where his grandfather is trying to be like the younger kid.
He's trying to be his grandson, pretty much.
It's really weird. I thought that was probably one of the funniest of all of those.
Yeah.
Like that got the most laughs. Not the most laughs, but it got a lot of laughs.
It was just like the guy behind us was just like, what the fuck? He just cracked up the entire time.
That was ridiculous fun. Alright, so then we have H is for head games. Now this one was a little also.
It's another art style one.
Yeah, it's very artsy, and it was just an animation of two heads who were like kissing, and then it turned into this weird.
The animation though I've seen on YouTube multiple times because there's it might be the same guy. I don't know. I would assume so since the art style is the same. But it's like there's a thing on YouTube. I don't know what it's called, but I've like come across it where the guy will do like weird things and like he'll put his finger through and the nail will pop up. But it's just a drawing of weird, disgusting, disturbing things. So I feel like maybe he transitioned himself into the ABCs of death with this because it's just two heads fighting. Yeah, it's two heads that like are regular heads at first and female
they're kissing.
And male, yeah.
And then it has like I think the female bite the guy's lip off or something like that. And then it turns into this weird like their heads start changing into different shapes and shooting like their eyeballs are like shooting cannons and stuff like that.
And like his ears I think came off and became like some sort of
UFOs
spaceship thing. It was weird.
It was definitely abstract.
It was
sure.
Yeah.
And
but it made sense.
Oh yeah, it made sense. It just like it was just the idea of it, and it kind of goes on for a little bit too long. It kind of loses my interest. Like it's interesting for a minute, but much past that, it's kind of just like okay.
It's just one of those things.
When's the next skit?
When are we done here?
I is for Invincible. Now this is the old lady who could not die.
I really. I
think this is Spanish or some sort of
Spanish.
I think it was Spanish. It's pretty much there is this old lady who will not die, and her grandkids or children at least
are
trying to kill her so they can like separate her inheritance.
They're trying to get see what I originally thought was I was for inheritance.
Yeah.
But then I was
because they mentioned it.
I was gonna say at that point I was like they're saying it enough. It might be the thing.
Inheritance. So they're trying to kill her, and she's seemingly invincible, like she's invulnerable. She won't die, and there seems to be some weird curse linked to it.
She has thing in her mouth.
She has a thing in her mouth
like
that seems to be the curse of how she can't die.
I mean, like it still made sense, but it was just not my favorite.
Yeah. Next one is J is for Jesus. Do you remember this one?
J is for Jesus.
This is the one with the homosexual guy.
Oh my god, I didn't like this one because it was really disturbing.
It was really disturbing. So it's there's this guy who's being his father hired a private investigator to shadow his son, and the guy takes pictures of his son engaging, like just kissing another man, and supposedly the guy he loves. And then his father has him kidnapped, and essentially like one of those like kind of like trying to make him straight things. They essentially start torturing him, but they're trying to kind of essentially like take the gay out of him, which is
well,
really
and unfortunately, like there's some camps and stuff that try to do this, religious camps that are trying to beat the gay out, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, you can't do that.
Yeah.
We're not going to go down that road.
But it gets really weird because while these two priest guys, I think, are kind of like mildly they are torturing
them. They are torturing
They're torturing him. They're threatening to brand him and shock him and stuff like that.
His perspective seems to be getting warped.
He sees them as like demons, like these weird face, mouth things. I could not
describe what the fuck they look like. It looked... I don't know, they had like this converging weird face thing that went on.
They had like big mouths in the center of their faces. I don't know how much further we should go from that, but like...
I don't really think the end should be...
Yeah. So
the end is a pretty good end to it.
It gets really weird where there's kind of like a divine intervention almost, or not so divine intervention. It's really weird. I don't know. That was definitely... It was one that was kind of uncomfortable because...
I feel like it was trying to make a political statement in a different way.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it actually made its point.
I think a lot of horror does that. Like,
well, I'm sure it does, but I'm saying, like, for that aspect, I think it wasn't, like, in your face, you're wrong kind of thing, but it was like, look at it from his perspective. This is what he sees, and this is what you guys are doing.
Next one is K is for Knell.
Okay.
Or Knell, if you pronounce it not silently.
Okay, well, I saw this one once because when we rewatched it, I was tired.
I also fell asleep during this one, but it was probably one of my favorites from when we saw it in the theaters.
You liked it.
I liked the style of it, and it was also really creepy.
Yeah. I didn't quite get it.
Pretty much what it is there's this lady, this younger girl, but she must be of age because she's living by herself, maybe. I don't know. There's this younger girl.
She has to be in her early 20s.
She's in her apartment, and she hears a noise. She looks outside, and there's this big liquid sphere thing that is like swirling outside this other apartment complex.
Kind of reminded me of the Venom goo.
Yeah, it was that sort of like weird...
sticky, kind of weird stuff.
So it goes around and then it just like completely impacts. And then she's looking over at this other apartment complex, lights start flickering, she starts seeing through the windows people killing each other, people jumping or throwing other people from the things, from the balcony.
And then when it stops, they all kind of just looked at her.
They all look at her.
And the whole
from the entire, like...
Yeah, the whole row of people just stopped and stared, and it's just kind of like...
Yeah.
Well, alright, bye.
That gave me chills. It was really creepy. But, yeah, it was really... That was probably the best part of it. And then it kind of turns into, they might be coming for her apartment sort of deal. That was the first one of all of them that was actually creepy. Like, well, no. I think J is for Jesus was actually really creepy and really kind of made me uncomfortable.
But it was different creepy.
Yeah, it wasn't scary creepy. That one was like uncomfortable creepy. This one was like actually like
they had like one jump scare, I think, that I kind of looked down away from the screen because I knew something was going to happen and it was at the door.
Then we have L is for Legacy. This is probably my least favorite of them all. This was the African one. This one was like, I think there was definitely effort made, and I think the practical makeup and stuff like that was fine. Like this one had like a monster in it, like kind of like a.
The story was decent had they not added what he looked like.
You didn't like the way the monster was.
I'm saying, had they not put him in there and like left the story, because the story of like. The guy, I can't remember exactly what it was because honestly, I kind of, as soon as I saw the monster and the bad blood effects, I was done.
Oh yeah, it was like, I thought the monster was alright. I mean, they tried to do some good practical effects, but the special effects they did were terrible.
Well, the blood effect of it was
The editing was not, the editing was not good.
I know they tried though, and that's the thing, is like, at least it wasn't like with X, Y, and Z on that last one where it was just, I mean, one of them was what the fuck, and that's what you were sitting there going, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You didn't try.
This one they tried. They clearly tried. It just, I don't think the execution was that great. Like the editing was kind of like sounds were cutting in and out, and it was a little weird. Music was just stopping for no reason, and like I think that was the least technically sound one. It just wasn't like, it just story wise.
It didn't hit the mark like I think they wanted it to.
Yeah. After that is M is for Masticate. Is it Masticate or Masticate?
Come on.
Masticate?
What'd you write?
I think it's supposed to be Masticate.
What'd you write?
I wrote Masticate. I don't know which it is. But this one was...
This is for something.
This one was primarily all in slow motion. It was like this dude with like really funky eyes going through and just biting people in slow motion the entire time. Really slow motion.
The end was hilarious as fuck.
running through slow motion, like biting people's necks and attacking a police officer at the end, and the cop like shoots him and he falls, and like right when he shoots him, I think is when it goes into real motion. That one probably got one of the best, like biggest reactions out of the crowd.
Well, the end I think was the biggest reaction.
And then we have N is for Nexus.